We'll call the meeting to order. Tiffany, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Garvey. Present. Councilman Brennan.
Present.
Councilman Bundy.
Present.
Councilman Green.
Present.
Mayor Sykes.
Present. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. We'll run down to department head comments and reports. Chris, what do you got?
From the planning world, we're still seeing applications come in. We've got a couple of PDs that you'll be seeing in the next couple of weeks. We've got a couple of preliminary plats and final plats, a couple of annexations. So, and in comparison to last year, we were at 100 at the end of the year. We're at 90 applications as of today. So we're right at something from last year. So things are good.
Fantastic. Shasta.
Mayor, Council, tonight is our adult craft night. We've got teen coders tomorrow, and our friends at the library meet on Thursday. Later on Thursday evening, we have our teens after hours Nerf battle. And we also this week on Friday night have our open mic night partnered with the Arts Council. And then on Saturday, we've teamed up with the Air Force Base for the UPS Road Code Teen Safe Driving, and you get a discount through your insurance if your teen actually attends, and we provide lunch, so there's two of those right there. And then we are having a murder mystery at the end of the month. Sign-ups are available now to register for that. We're doing it a little different this time. We're having it more interactive instead of a reader's theater. You'll be grouped into teams to solve puzzles and clues and solve the crime, and you have 2 hours to do it. The first team that solves the mystery, there'll be a prize at the end. And then we also have Savory Lane providing breakfast burritos for our meal that night, so thank Savory Lane for that. And our privacy pod has been just starting in the installation process, so it's up. We still have a couple of minor kinks to work out, and they also have the furniture being ordered. So look for dates of when it'll be done. We'll have a reservation link so that anybody can use it, whether it be for studying, for interviews, for telehealth service, for legal aid. It'll all be free. This was a project that the Department of Health and Welfare presented us, and it was absolutely free. We didn't have to pay a dime. It was a grant that they had applied for, so we're excited. We'll also be dedicating the pod to a previous healthcare worker that has since passed away, and we'll label it under their name. So we're excited, and watch out for the ribbon cutting soon.
Fantastic. That's great news. Let's see here. Chief Thompson.
Just some training notes for the PD. We've got Officers Sellers and Patterson in the last couple of weeks of the renewal process, graduating here in a few more weeks, going out full-time patrol. Officer Tacky is in the last month of her academy at CSI. She'll be graduating December 11th, going up to see that, put her in the renewal process. And then finally, Officer Hollis is a post-certified drill instructor. He's going to switch a couple classes as DUI instructor for the department, getting people trained up and recertified on FSTs and the DUI process.
Fantastic. Hank?
We're at 183 permits issued for new dwellings. No new commercial report. And we have a code enforcement song going. So.
Chief Moore.
Mayor, Council, we've been working on drafting our new SOGs for the year, doing some revisions on ones that we currently have. We'll be taking those to the department for review in January timeframe. We've implemented a mandatory turnout bunker gear cleaning program that we're cycling all the firefighters through on a regular basis. We'll have that done. We've coupled that with a new piece of equipment we purchased through our capital improvement plan, an ultrasonic cleaning machine. That thing has proven to be invaluable at getting the carcinogens cleans off of SCBAs, the bottles, the brackets, the masks. It'll do boots, it'll do gloves, and all those things. And it does it very quickly, and it's user-friendly in terms of environmentally safe. It doesn't even require an MSDA sheet. So good stuff there. This past Thursday, we cycled, I believe, 10 firefighters through our physical abilities testing. That was a good time, rather cold, but a lot of good spirits going through that thing. So good to see that. The remainder of the department, we're working with Tower 1, some classroom portion on that, and the others we're doing skills work out there with that hands-on, so good stuff there. The fire department will be out in bulk this Saturday. We'll be working to gather donations from our local businesses for the Burnout Fund drive. So we'll be out doing that for that worthy cause. And recently have completed going through visiting with 5 new applicants for the department, that orientation for those people that are interested to join our team. So a lot of good, enthusiastic people there. We had even a couple of those show up to see what that physical abilities testing was about, because that's one of the first things that they're required to go through before becoming on the department.
Fantastic. How's that training up at Sequel doing? Are they?
That's fantastic. It's everything that I dreamed of and more as far as that goes. It's just I can't express how valuable that is to training, particularly our younger firefighters, but also the skills of everybody in terms of, because it gives every facet of firefighting that we can do in there, including the live fire stuff. But there's just so many other things that we can do in practice. We've got a couple of new officers doing this. It gives them the opportunity to work in a controlled environment and just test in areas that that is safe and very, very much realistic.
So with that training then, Chief, do you quantify it, I guess, when you have like a new officer, you let them take the reins, you go back and talk about it, what you did right, what you did wrong, and obviously you build them up, obviously say, hey, this is what I would have done a little different, and then give them the opportunity to re-go at it again?
Absolutely, yeah, we do that. We do a hot wash after the training is done with the entire department that was there in terms of the different facets of how the training evolution went that particular evening, and then anything to touch on beyond that we'll do individually with firefighters or whatever. So yeah, it's a great learning tool.
Good. Hank, you shaking your head like you like it?
Yeah, it was amazing. Can't argue more.
Good. Rich?
Mayor and council, pretty much our big projects are buttoned up. Just a couple punch list things left on the water main and our road project on 14th. 8th, our wastewater project on 8th Street's pretty much is done. There's just a couple little things they got to just go through. Some of it's striping and some stuff. They might just wait and do some of the striping when they do the next phase in the spring. So just because if we put it down, it just might get torn up in the wintertime. So kind of that. Then wastewater, so our application for the lagoon out to the farm was done at the end of October. So got all our paperwork done to get into DEQ for our year-end closeouts and things like that. So just we started working on some stormwater project on Chucker Circle. So I think they got over there today to try to start boring. I don't know if they got started boring tomorrow. So that's going to be good. Everybody's happy over that way.
So council, real quick, the Chucker Circle, if it rains real hard or if it snows really hard, they have this little 8-inch drainage that takes it out to the pond behind, what is that, what park is it? Ridgecrest Park. So for a couple of years, we've been trying to figure out how we're going to do it, how we're going to get a bigger box or, get that storm drain. And so, because it literally goes up to the people's doorstep. So I know Don and his crew's out there trenching an area. They're going to do the same thing that we did with the county when we were remember when we went out to the highway district, we bored through the road and then we welded. So it was Miguel, Todd and I, we welded those HDP pipes together, and then the bore rig pulled it back. That's what we're going to do. Another 8-inch or 10-inch? 8-inch, yeah. So, and then the storm drain or box will be a lot bigger to get more flow out of that area. It's pretty bad over there.
There'll be 2 pipes in there instead of 1.
Yeah. So, the bore rig will go over there tomorrow. They'll bore a 6-inch hole first, and then they got a 10-inch reamer that'll bring it back, and then they'll push it back through, and then they'll pull the pipe back, and then they'll have a guy that does the same thing, welds the pipe. They're 40-foot sticks instead of 20.
Are they? I didn't see what the sticks were. I thought they were 20 foot.
20-foot sticks. Well, I digress. But what we're going to do is do the same thing that when we help the county, when we try to get the overflow water from this gravel pit to the other side. That's what we're doing with the Chucker Circle. So 14th and then 6th, I thought was done.
6 is they'll come back in the spring to do 6th Street for the hospital.
Okay. No. I'm talking about the one over here. All that.
Oh,
road
yes.
work. That's done?
That's all done.
Okay. And they're not going to put the paint down because is the heat tape paint or is it just regular
Some of
paint?
it's thermal.
Thermal?
Some different, yeah.
Okay.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Rich, what's the update on American Legion in front of the ICCU building? How long are they going to have that down for?
I do not know.
No idea. Do they have a permit for a certain amount of time?
It's just the state, so
The
I don't
state?
know what it's an ITD permit, so I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Because they're gonna put down, they'll probably put down concrete like it is right there, so would be my guess.
Okay. And then, do you or your team know anything about Bradford at Foster? The amount of damage that was caused there with their, how many times they dug into the road? Are they gonna totally repave all that, or is it gonna wait for?
I don't know, I'll have to go see, I haven't looked at it recently, so I know our sewer guys have been out there looking at it, but I haven't driven over there to look at it. I can check and see.
Okay,
I know that they'll repair what needs to be repaired, so,
okay.
and it might be easier to do the rest, the whole piece of it,
I think at
so.
this point it needs a whole new pave job.
Okay.
They did some damage.
Okay, I'll check into it.
Can you follow up, give me a call?
We'll do that.
That's all, thanks.
That's what you got.
Mostly stuff on economic development. We've got lots of things rocking and rolling. Chris and I have been working with Idaho Power for their Eastern Treasure Valley electrical plant. Every 10 years, they gather all us from Glens Ferry to, Boise area, gather us all around and kind of say, like, we know Mount Hope is going to need 2 substations. Where do you guys think it should go? Really awesome stuff. Kind of gives us as a community a chance to have that say, and we also, they know that they're not going to put exactly where we want it, but we also came up with lists of things we want them to avoid. Obviously, like we want them to avoid view sheds, avoid natural waterways, things like that, keep it in industrial areas, less residential. So cool things like that, just us being able to have our say with the big dogs like Idaho Power. It's kind of nice. We'll see how that all unfolds over the next 10 years. We also, we've got Small Business Saturday coming up. And so for those that don't know, the Saturday after Thanksgiving is known as Small Business Saturday. Pioneer Federal has recently launched Buy Local campaign. Same exact concept, just Mount Home specific. So we partner with the Chamber, the Economic Development Office partners with the Chamber to make sure all of our small businesses have an opportunity to be seen that day. They do their members. We try to take care of everyone else. I do the best I can. There's only one of me, and we all know I've got a couple hats I gotta wear. But working together to make sure we get our small business. They've got coupons. We will collect those all at the Chamber, and they do grab bags. I think 150 grab bags Saturday morning at 9 a.m. at the Chamber office. They'll be giving out those bags to the first 150 people. And there will be coupons for small businesses as well as a map with all the businesses participating. So you'll know if a business has like a 10% off coupon, maybe a raffle that day. I know a lot of people do like little trinkets. First 50 customers gets a free ornament, things like that. So that's kind of on the economic development role. We've got that going on. And then food distribution this month is going to be November 30th. So that's actually last Thursday. Usually it's the 3rd, but with Thanksgiving they pushed it out a week. But the food bank has pretty much ended all of their food distributions besides us in Nampa. So I think it's really cool that they still come out. We get at least, I would say at least 15 volunteers from the base that come out, and it's a lot of food, a lot of cars. So if you guys have time on November 30th, or every month, I really urge you to swing out by Optimus Park, 11:30, even just if you have time to swing out and see the amount of cars that are there, it really kind of puts in perspective where our community's at. So got that. I think that's about it.
Thanks, Betsy. Tiffany?
Mayor, Council,
I'd like to congratulate Scott Harjo and Jenny Werlicka. I look forward to working with you after the first year. We are in audit and full swing, so we're producing documents and helping Paula where we can. On my side of the room, I'm working on the New Year stuff. Republic Services rates are coming in and different renewals as we wrap up the end of 2023. It's hard to think we're there. We have an IT manager. We've scheduled some interviews. They'll be this week. The cemetery software that you guys approved, they're exchanging data now and doing the drone footage. So hopefully the first of the year, we're live in that software. It's hands-on, easy for our citizens to navigate. It's got the GIS mapping in it, so pretty excited there. And I'm just providing support to the other city departments where I can.
Ms. Paula? Nothing? So I'm going to bring back probably the next council meeting. Paula told me I needed to bring it back. I didn't know if I did or I didn't. It's like the project share. So what it is if you have you go and pay your bill up front and you want to overpay, that extra fund can go into a fund where it can be used for people that are having, let's say, any issues at the time, or just like Idaho Power does, if you can't pay your bill, Paul. So we're going to work through that now that we have the new BDS system up, and then Cassell said it will talk to each other. So am I far off?
We check with Billing Document Services runs our credit cards, and they said it's an option that we can implement if the council, that's something you guys want to do. So, yeah, we just needed a GL in Cassell, so we'll set one up. Work through that.
I was hoping to do it sooner than later. We got Thanksgiving and Christmas coming, and those are tough times for some people. So,
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey,
do we have anything like that already in place, or this is just implementing it?
we have nothing other than
So we don't have like an extra account or anything like that?
no. That
Okay.
we ought to set that in the GIL.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Bundy.
just a question on that. You mentioned people paying up front. Can you set it up so that if you do the auto debit, you can auto debit an additional fee also, an additional amount? Okay.
It's through the credit card.
So you just come in here and say, I would like to add this to my monthly bill.
Yeah, it'll be an option on there.
Okay, thank you.
We'll add it.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the girls up front they see a lot of need, and so we try to think of what we could do, and that was with this new system it'll work. So I'll bring that back sooner. The 16th of this month, we have far too many attempted suicides, and I think I've said this far too many times. We have a gentleman named Mark Merrill coming. He's the #1 school choice presenter, and it's not just for our kids, it's for everybody. So I want you guys, if you have time on the 16th, the doors open at 6. I guarantee you'll get something out of this gentleman. This guy is, if you Google him, you YouTube him, the guy's phenomenal. He's exciting to watch, and I think that his message is something that we all need to hear. I had the chief pull some statistical data in the last 3 years of 80 attempts of suicide, and so that's a lot for just Mountain Home. I can't fathom if I was in Boise or anywhere else, and then 6 deaths. So that's just me trying to get you guys to come to this. It was paid for by a grant, and so it wasn't tax. Well, no, grants are tax dollars. I get that, but it was a grant. Obviously.
Was it private?
Yes.
It was opioid settlement.
It was. Oh, that's right. It was an opioid settlement that we got from that lawsuit. So we needed. I think this is something that needs to be. It's about thinking positive and helping everybody. So if you can make it, please come. It's not a Mayor Sykes thing. It's not a Paula Safransky or a council. It's the thing for the city. So just if you can make it, doors open at 6. It's at the Mountain Home Junior High School. That's 1600 East, 6 South, Mountain Home, Idaho. It's free. Please come. All right, council, you got anything really quick? All right, we'll run down the conflict of interest declaration. Has any council member received information pertaining to or otherwise had any contact with any persons regarding items on this city council agenda? If so, please set forth the nature of said contact. Hearing none, we'll go down to the consent agenda. Council, is there something you want to discuss, you want to pull off? It's a relatively small one, A through G.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Bundy?
Yeah, Mr. Yurkiti, on E, could you just help remind us what what those changes were in that contract?
Mayor, council, so this was actually put in, it's been going since 2015, excuse me, before that. 2015. So Keller and Associates, they take care of our general things, so like if we have, they look at the water and the sewer for any design, like subdivisions, to make sure that it's meeting DEQ standards and what's going on, so they write a letter to DEQ and make sure everything's going good, so the type things like that. Anything that we need them to look at that might need some sort of a stamp or anything like that they do. So they do it for water, they do it for wastewater, and then generals like streets or like they've been doing helping us some stuff with the landfill. So those are what those are. So like it just keeps going, it gets depleted, and then they just do another amendment to add more money into it.
Okay, thanks.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
Mr. Yurkiti, is 85,000 about what it normally goes up, or is that?
It kind of depends. It's been between 55 and 60, I think was the last one. This one was 85 because they're doing some survey stuff out at the landfill, so I just had them.
So you have it labeled out what that 85 is going to go towards?
Yeah.
So essentially, we prepay it with the projects already in mind.
They send an invoice and say what they were working on each month as
Oh.
it kind of goes through, and then I track it.
Councilman Brennan?
One thing I'd just like to add is I had a chance to talk to Chief Thompson about the body-worn camera system. What was important to me is that he had an opportunity to field test them. I'm always nervous going into kind of a contract of many years, but he field tested it. They're very happy with the product and with the customer service, so I'm happy to move forward with that.
With that, council, do you hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Here.
Councilman Brennan?
Make a motion to pass the consent agenda as printed.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilman Green? Aye. Run down to old business, action item number 1, deliberation decision on known water district. This is like old halfway now, right?
Good evening.
How we doing?
Good.
Go
Once
ahead.
again, my name's Erica Pedroza, representing Idaho, no, not Idaho. Well, it is in Idaho, I guess. Northern Water Subdivision, and have a little bit of an update. So we finally were able to hear back. Hiddleston recommends getting rid of the pump completely because we have to knock down the building. However, Treasure Valley Drilling out of Boise, they would like to, they reviewed our video and they said that the screens are clogged up and they're able to clean that up with some acid cleaner, some Drano. But that's not it?
Drink it.
It's still not good for you, right? No, so they said there's a way to clean it, but however, they would like to get another video. They have given me a quote, it's about $1,000 to get another video because they think the quality of the video they got was bad and there might be more cleaning to do. So they're going to get another video, and then if they're able to keep restore to its original condition, we don't need to involve DEQ. But if we need to add any screens, DEQ would need to be involved as well as the city engineers. So hopefully once they get that done, and then they quoted me to fix it, about $40,000 to rehab the pump and get it back moving up once they get that done. So it's like it's getting better. Spring coming in the winter. So, and then they do recommend, they gave us we're just learning a lot. They recommend those open cavities. It tends to move around a lot of the stuff down there. So going forward, we'll also implement a spring maintenance program to make sure that we have our pumps up and going all the time.
Council, you got any questions for Erica? Councilman
We're
Brennan?
as excited as she is, aren't we?
Erica, did I hear you right? You do intend to move forward with the second option, not the
Yes.
Western one, but you're going to do another camera
Yeah.
recording?
Yep, and Treasure Valley Drilling said they would be there. The people that are, that would take the second camera, they're Snake River Water, and they said they have better quality. They work with them on a regular basis, so they're like, we'll sit there, be with them throughout the whole video
Okay.
to make it happen a lot faster.
Is there a date set for that one?
I do not have the date yet, no. I'm glad they responded, so that is a plus. Everybody's just been really busy, and so they did apologize for not getting back to us sooner, but they do recommend taking a new video with somebody that they trust and they know better. That way they can give us a better estimate of how much it would cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions? Great. You had a comment?
No, when I talked to her before, she was really excited that we're moving forward, and so,
Yes,
thank you.
yes. Came to visit you guys last week, but you weren't here.
Councilwoman Guerra.
I just was gonna ask, and it's up to obviously the council, are you guys okay with if she has an update, she comes to the meeting versus having to come to every meeting?
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a legit update, email Tiff and come to the meeting. Are you guys okay with that?
That's what we did last time. Last time you
Well,
went.
we had her go, but she came to the meeting.
Oh.
And then we let her go early because.
I got off of work early to come, so.
Oh, okay, well, if you want to come, I'm just trying to save you some
So you're
time.
saying if there's no update, she doesn't-
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, and she could let Tiffany know or whomever.
You council good with that?
As long as we just don't go that period of time where we
Yeah.
get no updates.
I agree with that, yeah.
So if you don't have no update, then there's no update.
Okay.
No, it's
I'm
covered.
hoping that it'll move faster, so, yeah, I'm excited.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Erica.
you.
All right, let's see, let's write down to new businesses, items removed from the consent agenda. Item number 2, there were none. Let's run down to item number 3, a discussion item, deliberation on Mountain Home City Code 7-1A, 9, water rate fees.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
Tiffany, I appreciate throwing this on the agenda today. Basically, I wanted to have that discussion with the council about the city collecting fees, depending on what we officially title them, which is another place I want to go to, but we charge a $2,000 per acre fee for anybody annexing into the city, which just goes into a pot of money for us to help buy future water rights to supply that to everybody in our growing town. The problem is the ordinance currently says basically 2,000 per acre, and it doesn't specify less than 1 acre. And I believe in my heart that we're going to have a lot of less than 1 acre annexations, of which people will obviously need to use our water system, and I think it would be appropriate to share that expense for less than 1 acre. I did a little math, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm definitely not a mathematician here, but 1 acre should be 43,560 square feet. I divided our current fee by that, and basically that comes down to 4.8 cents per square foot. My recommendation would be to just move this fee to a 5 cents per square foot for land annexed into the city. That does increase the acre price to $2,178. It's a $178 increase per acre, but it also allows a fee to be paid for less than 1 acre.
I like it.
And then I don't know how to do this. It's not, my brain doesn't work that way, but I at some point would like to get with Keller to find out if that $2,000 mark or $2,178 is still an appropriate amount for basically the equivalent amount of water they're using versus the equivalent amount that they're going to help the city acquire to offset the usage. The ordinance was written in 2006, and now we're in 2023, so maybe that could be a simple conversation, Rich, you have with the engineer at Keller. But for now, I'm okay sticking with not really trying to jack those rates too much, but just my recommendation is 5 cents per square foot annexed into the city. And then finally, I guess I'd like to, I talked to Tiffany a little bit about this and real brief threw it out to Rich before the meeting started, but I'm not sure that where this is placed in our ordinance is the most appropriate spot. I was thinking maybe move this, it's currently titled water rights fee, but move it under the annexation code for the city so that, because it really has nothing to do with, Tiffany, what was Title 7 again?
Water,
It was definitely water something.
water distribution, maybe?
Yeah.
I have it. Yeah.
Sorry. I know it's water.
7-1.
I have it right here.
Health.
So it's health sanitation.
Water regulation, general regulation. So, again, I'm not the expert on that, but I feel like maybe moving this, since it's a fee for annexation, into our annexation land use.
Title 9, right?
Title.
Yeah, we've got title.
How do you guys feel about that?
I think that's the appropriate place for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Title 9, it's fine.
Just have another chapter under annexation. Mayor, Council, Councilman Brennan, kind of looking at that too, we, just really talk briefly. A lot of times on those, when it looks at it, when we look at the plot, it does come out that it's like this annexation 7.34 acres. So you really could take that 0.34 and multiply it by the 2,000 to just get what that extra piece would be, instead of having to go and change everything to square feet. It might make it a little bit cleaner. So
It accomplishes the same mission.
It does.
As long as the ordinance says that fractions of an acre, or, not necessarily 1 point something, but just point something of an acre.
because we do that if it's over 1 acre. If we get something that's annexed that's 4.67 acres, we get the 6.7 into it. So we just don't have anything that was below it. We just didn't do that. So
How do you do that then without it being in a fee-based ordinance? You know what I mean? So if it's 2,000 acre and you're trying to get that .67, how do you factor that?
just take the
Prorate it?
the 0.67 times 2,000 and then add it to the rest of the acreage.
Okay. So you round it up.
No.
Man,
So
Don.
if it's 0.5, you charge $1,000.
Oh, I see what you mean. 0.6. Okay, I got you.
Either way, as long as we can,
That might be easier.
what do you guys think? I don't know.
I like it.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey.
What was the fee previous to this update?
This is it.
So this is all new? Everything about this is
No,
new?
this is already in.
This is already in
This is
order.
our,
Thank you.
this
Okay,
is what
okay.
we charge right now.
All right, so can I just make sure I understand number one correctly? So it's going to be required for all new residential, commercial, and industrial. Nothing's changed. That's always been how it's been. Okay.
Just if you annex. But now,
Okay.
but we haven't done anything if you annex something that's lower than 1 acre.
Oh, okay.
So,
So,
so like, for example, I'll use Mark's that we just did over off of
Bradford.
Bradford. So he had like, I don't know,
.43.
0.43 acres. So we would take that, multiply it by the 2,000, and that's what he would have paid for an annexation fee.
okay,
For water rights.
right, okay.
I like it.
Do we have direction we want to go? So we can draft it?
I think I have enough to put something together.
Do you prefer just the fraction or the 5 cents, just so we know?
Do you want to hear what Keller says in an email?
Mayor, Council, I personally think that that
2,000.
leaving the 0.5, whatever, makes it easier than changing it to square feet and then there's just more conversions. But I will certainly bring that forward, and then I'll get with Keller to see what we can do, because if that would be a fee increase, so we'd have to see if we'd have to have a public hearing. But with this one, does this still have to have a public hearing?
Is it below 5%?
It's a new fee.
It is a new fee.
It's a new fee.
Then yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can try to get it all in one shot if we need to, yeah.
You want to bring it back next council meeting?
A draft of it, yeah.
Try to get something put together.
Okay.
One other topic on here is, there may be some gray areas as to Section C and Section D. One is a water rights fee required, which is how I see somebody coming into the city that, they don't have any water rights of their own, so essentially they're buying into the system. Where Section D is, if you're coming into this, if you're annexing into the city but you own your own water rights, then basically that's just saying we have the first right of refusal to buy those from you, and you have to offer them to us first.
Mayor, council, I think that some of this needs to stay where it is, but the annexation piece probably would go with the other one. So, because we're still using, because a lot of those, I'll use an example of Meadows Trailer Park. So they have a well that they've been using for that since 1961 or whatever. So they are going to, in part of their annexation agreement, was, but it kind of fits this right here, that we're going to buy that water right from them, so we can move their point of diversion into ours. So, and they would use that price to offset some of their connection fees. So.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey.
So I may be thinking way too much into this. So what happens if it's an annexation subdivision coming to us and they want to use their current well as irrigation instead of sell it to us?
That, we would let them do that. That's
Okay.
something we're actually doing.
So then would we credit them a portion? Would we, I mean, how are we, because essentially it's a less burden.
Well, they still have to, all the connection fees are the same, so they just wouldn't be, they're not going to be using over 5,000 gallons for, it just balances out with what they're.
Is this this water rights fee, is it pretty common in other counties?
I don't know.
Oh.
This has been your,
My experience it is.
Okay, thank you. That's, just curious. Just the first I've ever heard of it, so I don't think it's a bad idea. So.
My thought.
Can I just, one thing too?
Chris, go ahead.
So, inside the city limits for new development on ground that's never been, this same thing applies, we don't charge for under 1 acre, right? So we'd want to make sure we address that as well.
Well, this is just if it's being annexed. So if they're already in the city, then.
Right, well, but if they're not developed, if we have ground that's within the city limits that's never been developed.
They don't pay a water right fee.
No.
They just pay their
The
connection.
connection
Okay.
fees, yeah.
Just want to make sure we get all that.
Because really, it's kind of the surrounding area, so as we grow, we need to be able to bring in more water rights. Because we can already service what's inside there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I think,
Councilman Brennan.
going off of Councilwoman Garvey's comment, I feel like if you annex in, regardless of whether you're going to use a well for irrigation or stuff, it's the same price to come into the city. That's the price you got to pay if you come into the city. Agreed? So, I don't think any.
I'm just asking.
Sure.
Because, I mean, if I were to annex into the city and excuse me, if I were to annex into the city, I would ask, hey, I have my own well, I won't put such a burden on the system, so what can we do to, and then I guess you come to council at that point, so.
And that's Mayor Council, and that's usually some of our discussions that we have in our pre-development meetings and as we go through to start putting all the paperwork together for everything coming in. So
Yeah.
if they could not use it for drinking water because it's not tested, so it has to be irrigation.
Okay.
Councilman Brennan.
Rich, do you, Chris, do you guys have enough time to bring back a draft of this at our next council meeting?
I would think so.
Depends on Keller's answer.
The draft, yeah, not council, Tiffany.
I'm just gonna state the deadline will be Tuesday, the 21st. If not, it might be Monday because offices are closed Thursday and Friday. So
First one in December.
your
That's fine.
turnaround's very quick if you plan to be here next week.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, all good in that one?
Oh, that's good. I forgot we talked about that and I knew that, so.
All right, we'll run down to a discussion item, number 4, Lynn Carrico, Etheridge Legacy Homes regarding a proposed hydraulic and hydrate study, H&H. Come on down.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. And it's Carrillo. I'll teach you.
Rio.
My name is Len Carrillo. I am the chairman for Etheridge Legacy Homes. We are a small developer that is working on a project on 8th Street at 2155. And we're running into a little bit of a situation. As some of you may know, this is a floodway. And so the records that we're trying to figure out, we've been working with Chris, and unfortunately we're trying to figure out what we can put on this property. So we're bringing in a little bit smaller footprint, a little bit higher density, but we don't really know what we can put there. And unfortunately with the FEMA records, they're out of date, drastically out of date. So we have been required to do an H&H study. The price on that is about $10,000. And we are a smaller group, so what we're doing is we're asking council to help us front load this a little bit. So we need to have that covered, and then once we get through due diligence and we figure out what property, Chris has come up with quite a few different ideas that we can go down, and so it's looking actually really well, so, just depending on how the H&H study comes out. But we're asking council to help us with the $10,000 cost to the H&H study, and then once we go through the entitlement, we get that done, we will refund back to the city. And so that's my purpose here, so if you have any questions, I can go from there.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Brennan?
Mr. Carrillo, I apologize. We have like 4 8th Streets. Can you tell me which project?
Sure can. So this one is 2155 North 8th Street, right across from the golf course.
Right across from the, there's a Golf View?
Mark Russell's, where the horses are.
Oh, okay.
Right by the jail, right?
Yes.
You don't have an approved, like, development yet, right?
Not yet. We're, the H&H study is kind of where our holdup is right at the moment. We do have an outline of the project that we are looking for. We've, like I said, we've been in discussion with Chris as far as like what you guys are looking for, and we want to be able to bring something to Mountain Home that you need, not something that we think will fit. So we've had a number of conversations that way. We're looking at kind of a golf community is what we're looking to put in there. Maybe townhomes, patio homes. We haven't really, like I said, until we've kind of get through this H&H study so that we know what this floodway is going to do and how we have to work with it. That's the variable on the whole thing. The other thing too is it's kind of hard because we are the smaller group. We're not, we don't have the major pocketbook to front this on a maybe what if, and that's been our biggest issue is how do we want to approach it. So to be able to have council help us with the upfront cost, and then knowing, Chris, we're like 80% on where we want to go, I believe, on the whole thing. But on that tail end of it, then we'll be able to refund it back to the city.
When do you want to refund it?
On entitlement.
Okay.
And one of the big things is our investors are a little leery, obviously, because they're like, well, do we want to put the money up front when it may or may not be a buildable place? Everything that we're finding right now, we think there's a way that we can actually approach this so that it will bring what the city needs as far as the housing is concerned, and not have to worry about diverting the water or anything like that, because we know we can't do that. So we think we have a way around it, but until that H&H study is coming in, it's hard. It's a guessing game.
Chris, what point of entitlement are we talking? Like building permits or just their
Approval of their preliminary plat.
preliminary plat?
Yeah.
And what happens in between a $10,000 loan and a preliminary plat if things fall apart?
That's the risk on the council. That would be on the risk on the city. That is part of the issue that we do have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair
Straight
enough.
up. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Council, what are you gonna do?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Not interested.
Okay.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
I appreciate you asking. However, I think that $10,000 is a very, very small portion of the development fees that you'll end up having to pay. And if that if the 10,000 scares your investors, then I think you have a lot more to be worried about, and I'm with,
Understood.
I'm with
Yeah,
Councilman Brennan.
Completely understand.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Bundy.
In our last couple of meetings, we found the dangerous agenda of setting a precedent, so I think this is something that, and I appreciate you coming in and talking to us, and
Absolutely.
sounds like you've got some good plans, but, and I wish you well, and hopefully we can help you in many ways, but maybe not in this particular way.
Okay, no, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
Councilman Green.
I fully support every councilman here.
Okay,
All right, Lynn.
thank you. Appreciate your time.
For your own edification, constitutionally prohibited from doing that. So, glad everybody said no.
All right.
That helps too. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Very much.
All right, number 5, action item, deliberation decision on proposed personnel policy updates. Council.
Tiffany, did you by chance print off my email?
I did. I have my notes all over it though.
Oh, I'll pull up my phone and get it off there. That's fine.
I think I can remember mine.
We'll share.
Okay.
Paula, can you run a copy maybe, real quick?
For me too, please. Okay. I can't get my name all open. Struggling this week.
Sorry, awkward pause.
No, that's all good. Bundy's not even live.
Just one thought.
Oh, there you go.
Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but entitlement is at closing, essentially.
Entitlement, you mean what she was referring to? I don't know what she was referring to with that word. But if it, generally you're allowed to break ground at your plat, but your quote-unquote entitlement as that, how I would interpret it would be a final.
Oh, okay. So even if you own it, you're still not entitled to this? I'm trying
Yeah.
to figure out the okay, all right.
The other problems with
yeah,
all that
okay.
is you give money, which we can't do, then it almost binds you to have to approve the project, otherwise,
Otherwise, you don't get your money back.
and then that's predetermination and bias and
Okay.
conflict of
Thanks,
interest.
Paul. Sure. Oh, this is, that's, I guess, oh, no, never mind, you guys.
That one they
You
haven't had
paper clipped them all,
notes.
thank you.
Which council wants to go first? Councilman Brennan?
Sure.
All right, so
I think
you're
I'm the
the
only one that provided a response as of, anyways, earlier this afternoon. And I don't have the full document in front of me for the proposed personnel policy, but for those of us, or those of you that do, I had a comment on section 310, or 3.10, introductory period, which is one that I was pretty adamant about early on when we had this discussion. As it's written into the current draft, it talks about a introductory period that's also known as a probationary period, between 90 and 180 days. And I didn't understand why there's a variation between 90 and 180. So my response back was to be that all city employees, with the exception of the police department, should have maybe a 4-month or a 120-day set probationary period with department head discretion to go up to 180 days. It could be 90 days, it could be a set period of 90 or 120, but department head discretion to go up to 180. And that just, as the policy is already written, or the draft policy is written, it gives the opportunity for maybe correction or counseling or whatever we got to do to help that employee get along. If at the end of that 180-day maximum probationary period, they have to either be released from probation or brought on to non-probationary status. Tiffany, are you more comfortable with 90 or the 120? Or general department heads, where do you feel like you get the get to feel out your employees most? 90 or 120 days, maybe?
Mayor?
Hang on one second. Was that a question?
Yeah.
Oh.
Are you asking me?
All
To
department-
answer all of them?
So let's start out, Chief Moore.
Well, for the fire department, what we have is we have, once they reach the candidate phase, they are in a 1-year probationary. That gives them time to complete certain steps to get to firefighter position. So we have milestones that they set that takes that length of time.
A quick pause really quick. Then it sounds like you're in the same boat as the police department with a 1-year probationary period? Okay, sorry I left you out on that one.
So then let's not take you two. How about you, Hank?
90 would be fine.
90? Shasta?
90 should be fine.
Tiff? Okay. 90 good? Rich?
I need a year for.
Oh, you need a year for your license.
That's different. The licensures are explained out in their job
Yeah.
specifications
Paul?
and a
Paul?
separate section.
I went the 120.
Oh, Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Bundy?
So, after the 90, I think I totally agree. But does it give us the flexibility we need at some level also, or as defined at the time of employment? That sounds like what we do for fire, police. And then, so you're looking for a more consistent number here, but leave the ability to, based on the position in there, is that what you, okay.
I knew that the police department has its own very specific policy. I didn't know the fire department had one, so apologize there. So as I read it, every other employee would be under that umbrella.
Okay, and then we leave that ability to vary based on the position. Does it see what it says right here, or as defined at the time of employment?
And is that what you're talking about, Rich, is kind of the license
Okay.
part? So this is kind of whether you're a good employee, you meet the fit for the city or not, but the licensing thing is all on its own. It's a whole nother section.
I agree.
So if we could, if everybody's in agreement, you
Right,
set it
Mayor?
at 90 days.
I just have a quick question.
Councilwoman Garvey?
If a person gets an employment offer from the City of Mountain Home, when it says they become a fully benefited employee.
Their benefit at the time they start.
Oh, okay.
That's
So they
bad.
still have their insurance and everything else. I just was concerned if we bumped it out 120 days, are they still on COBRA? I mean, there could be a lot of different factors that could hurt them too.
Employee at the time.
Okay, okay, thank you.
And Mayor and Council, we draft offers of employment letters, and this would be spelled out in that. So whether it's 120 or 90, and we did the 90 because we've heard everyone say you can be perfect for 90 days, and so that's why we said, hey, and we didn't just come up with this ourselves, we mirrored some other cities and got with ICRIMP, and that is words that come from them too. So that's kind of why we said, okay, if your supervisor realized that 90 days, maybe we need to extend this a little longer, was the only reason to add the 180 days. So I will follow your direction.
So are you good with the 90s?
No, I'm good with 90. Mayor, also, if I just say, that was bad wording on my part on that email.
Oh.
I know they're benefited immediately. I
Oh,
meant
okay, so that's right.
They're either
I
off
read your email.
probation
Yes,
or they're fired.
sorry. Yep,
So,
yep.
one of the two.
I forget this isn't Tiffany's. This
Yeah.
isn't the policy.
My name's at the top, but forget it's from me.
I'm
So
tracking now.
Sorry to cut you off. A 90 day up to 180 at the discretion of the department head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or as otherwise provided by the department head, because we are year.
Okay.
As long as there's an SOG or a policy manual that's specific for those particular departments, then you don't, and the only thing I would cared about all that is whether you're giving unbridled discretion to a certain department head to say, well, you're on probation, you're on double secret probation, that kind of, if anybody knows that, anyone else?
Okay.
And so I just wanted to avoid that scenario, so.
You have to work in the wastewater and water department a year before they'll even let you get to test.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, sorry.
Very good.
Clarify
Keep
that one. The licensure pay, which I think we kind of sort of hit on. I'd like it to basically say that after 3 failed attempts,
Where are we at?
sorry, 4.2.3.
Page 29 and 30.
After 3 failed attempts to pass required testing, the employee may be terminated at the discretion of the mayor. If additional attempts are authorized by the mayor, these tests will be at the time and expense of the employee. It just, again, I don't have the initial language in front of me, but it just clarifies that just a little bit.
Doesn't it go to ICRIMP and HR? It should have ICRIMP in there and Paul Fitzer in there,
So-
not me. I'm like the last of the Mohicans. That's what it should have said, right?
So it says, after 3 attempts to obtain the required licensure, the employee will be responsible for any required testing fees that will be required to, and take the leave time when testing is required. And then the very next statement says, the employee will be required to obtain the certification as specified in their job specification, or may be subject to disciplinary action and up to including termination. So it
already has them pay it.
It already does, and again, once we're at test 2, the employee is getting a letter to notify them, if you're not successful at your attempt 3, this is going to be on your own time and your financial burden.
Can you
and
read
up to
the
termination.
last part again that talks about when termination is?
The employee will be required to obtain the certification as specified in their job specification, or may be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination.
Yeah, but and as I read it, it doesn't say like within 3 attempts. It doesn't, how many times can they keep trying?
Well, Well, at the, you mean on their financial burden?
Yeah.
How many times?
3 times on our dime.
It says 3 times on ours, but do you want to give them a limit on their time? Is that 6 months? Is that a year?
Yeah, I just feel like it's gray. Like, at some point, we have the authority, if we want, to just say, you've had enough tries, you're gone.
And I'm going to be honest, to quantify all the tests into one is hard. The water guys can only test at a specific time. Hank's department, they can test every other day. So, you know, like, I think that's hard, so I think you have to give a duration of time. You can't say, well, you get 3 tests. Water could be employed for potentially and not be offered a test for 6 to 8 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's 6 to 8 months for them to study.
Right.
By time, so. And I think I'm sure it's already happening, but a good department head would say, yeah, you're not gonna go test tomorrow, you tested yesterday, so give it some time, study, maybe I'll do a pre-test with you. When we think you're ready, you'll go test again.
Mayor, council, we would send them practice tests, they can take them right down. So that's exact, I think a lot of that's because of ours. So CDL's another good example.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't pass for CDL because they forgot to look at something and they get dinged right off the bat, and it's like, okay, gotta wait again.
Okay, so.
Put a limit. So many months.
I used the language may, right? The mayor or the HRO may terminate you after.
Okay.
You know, maybe they're getting a 10% on their score. The second one's a 12%, you know, and you gotta have 80 to pass. I'm not saying like that's what happens, but
Right.
I just like to have that option in the policy. The sick leave policy, 5.9.5 and 5.9.7. I just strongly disagree with it, almost entirely. Tiffany, did you ever get any feedback from iCrimp?
It's super, in iCrimp's words, it's restrictive, and so they're okay with making adjustments to it, but I'm okay with your guys' direction and where you want to go.
Mayor, sorry if you're not done, I just want to interject and add a comment to that.
Councilwoman
I
Rose.
have to, sorry, I did say mayor.
Oh, sorry to hear.
I have to kind of agree with that. In reading the sick pay, if a person is sick, we do want them to stay home. Now, I think it's up to the department head to be diligent. If a person's taking advantage of it, that's when it needs to be brought up. Because you don't want people, I worked for a boss that, even if you had the most raging headache, horrible cold, she demanded you be at work, and it was horrible. So I do agree with the statements of what Councilman Brendan wrote here. Now, if it's a habitual thing, or if you're out for a really long time, then yeah, you need a doctor's note, because most likely you've seen a doctor at that point. And I agree with the mental health as well. Yep.
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan?
I do want to talk about the mental health issue again, and sometimes I feel like I stand out in right field by myself when I go down this road, but, you know, a lot of that comes from, you know, my personal job as well, or my full-time career. But the policy basically says that you cannot take a mental health day and not stay home. If you take a mental health day and you don't want to stay home, you must see a doctor first and get a note to say that yes, my patient needs a mental health day and they can do whatever they want. Like, do we need our insurance being used for that, for a doctor's visit? And I feel like some stares or glares from some department heads would be like, I need them at work. I get it, I do, but I'm going to recommend that mental health days, up to 2 mental health days in a row can be used without a doctor's note, and they can do whatever they want with those days. After 2 days, after 2 consecutive days, then a note from a doctor would be required. And with, where was I going with that? They would be still required to have a bank of hours, their sick leave hours, or vacation, or comp time hours. There's sometimes, and I guess other department heads in the room, I can't say what stresses your employees go through on a regular basis. I just don't know, but you know, in my career, if I'm not in it to win it that day, like, I probably shouldn't be there. You know, it's bad for the citizens, it's bad for me. So I'm going to fight for that till the end. That I hope we can change that. As far as sick leave, man.
I know you're thinking, sorry,
Yeah.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
The 2 mental health days that you're talking about, those would be, they could use their sick leave as their paid option of leave, correct? Okay.
Without a doctor's note, though.
Okay, no, I understand that. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't trying to add additional
No.
leave. Okay, thank you.
And as far as sick leave, I know we have like a business to run essentially, but I don't think when somebody calls off because they have a cold that we need to force them to go see a doctor and get a doctor's note. And I don't know where to draw that line at. Maybe a certain amount of days you miss, you need to come back with a doctor's note.
I think, isn't it 2 right now? If you're gone 2 days in a row, or 3?
This says
Is it
3.
3?
Yeah.
So if you're gone 3 days, that's when you actually gotta get a doctor's note.
And then there's a section, I don't know if I wrote it down, if I included it and all that.
Is it the certification of physician required? The exposure
Yeah.
to contagious disease?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so he's talking about, there's a bullet in here that says, exposure to contagious disease, in the opinion of a department head, the employee's attendance on duty would jeopardize the health of fellow employees. It would require a physician's note to return back to work. That, Daniel and I kind of went around because we believe it got added with everything with COVID. But after further thinking and us going back and forth, it's probably wise to keep it in there for the fact that if we have a staff member that may not have leave and who may be at work and is ill and they refuse to go home, but we don't want to jeopardize the rest of our staff, we may want the department head to say, hey, you really need to go home for the safety of everybody else around you. And do that. Do we need to maybe do the certification? I don't know if you guys want to go that far, but I think you may want to have something in the system that, because some people just are going to come to work, sick or not sick. I can tell you, we have employees that are going to come here with a cough or without a cough. And they may work independently and they may work in a group. But I think having some kind of authority to say, hey, you really probably should just go home, buddy. Go rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in my mind, I'm rattling around like that there may be a difference between a department head saying you need to go home versus
the no.
Yeah.
Totally. I see that. But
and to start that conversation, you said if they don't have leave, are you sending them home on leave without pay at that moment?
They could be, yeah. Ultimately, if you don't have leave, you would go home without pay, yeah.
At the discretion of any department head?
Right.
Because that's like taking pay away is like a punishment. How would, no?
No, if it's for, that's why I like the policy is, yeah, it came about with with COVID and all that, but if you have a situation where it's determined, and again, see, the department head isn't an expert in contagious diseases, which is why it ties in the doctor. So if I'm okay with the process that, let's say you don't have leave, department head says you're contagious, you need to go home. If you're not, and I'm wrong, that's great. That's why we have this thing where you go get a doctor's note saying come back to work. Okay. And when COVID first hit, one of the things that all the municipal attorneys, quite frankly, around the country were trying to contend with is there any potential liability if person comes to work, we didn't know how bad COVID was at the time. If a person comes to work with COVID, gives it to somebody else, and then that person dies, because we said come to work, what kind of liability could that extend to the city? And so that was another reason why some of those policies came out the way they did and were written the way they were.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there is liability in that regard, but I'm not gonna, pave that one in stone and chisel that one out.
I don't think I was asking about liability, for so to speak, but like if you're sending somebody home who doesn't have leave, and now
they're taking,
doesn't the HRO need to be involved to say you're going home and you're not getting paid and your paycheck's going to be less than it normally
HR
is?
would be involved with that.
I think what we do is, what we run into is people that sometimes, I'm not saying any, that might abuse the system, and you know what I mean? So as soon as they get a vacation day, they're spending that vacation day. When they get their sick time, they're spending that sick time, you know what I mean? So I think that was to curb that.
And to be honest, Councilman Brennan and council members, I don't know if we've ever had to do that bullet.
Sure.
It's in there for the what if.
Yeah.
I see the contagious disease. I'm like, I'd say vast majority of things that we don't come to work for are contagious diseases.
I read your email, you listed them all.
Colds, flus, even a stomach bug can be contagious, you know? So, all right, that's fine. And I had a question as far as how I read the policy for the maternity and paternity leave, is that right? That this is 40 hours of free leave for mother or father.
4 weeks.
Or any parent.
4 weeks.
No.
No, 40 hours.
Either way. So we don't currently have we mirror FMLA, so family medical leave, in regards to maternity leave. So when we last discussed the policy, members of council wanted to see the maternity leave mirror bereavement leave. So we allow 40 hours in the death of a family member. So we were going to mirror that and offer 40 hours of paid leave right out the gate of the birth or adoption of a child, mother or father, into your family. The employee would get that. And then FMLA and their paid leave would kick in at the 41st hour, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Rich, you had a question, and
I just have an example for yours on the sending somebody home. I mean, I know Gene has done that, was street department person, because you're putting somebody that doesn't feel good, putting them in some sort of equipment where somebody can get injured. I know he's sent people, you guys home sometimes, just because there's no,
I appreciate that. My mind never went around the route of sending somebody home versus telling them, don't come to work until you get a doctor's note.
You could say, you could just tell that there's no way he's gonna function.
Especially once you put medication in with that and everything else.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry.
You're good. So my question really was just
To clarify?
to clarify that this is for either parent involved. And 40 hours, I don't know what most governments do for their people as far as maternity, paternity leave. 40 hours seems like not very much, 1 week. But what would you, do you know what the average might be, Paul?
I have not committed it to memory, but 40 hours is definitely light. And mind you, that's 40 hours of paid. You still have the opportunity under the FMLA to take a full maternity/paternity leave, but that doesn't mean you're getting paid for that entire time you're out.
Correct.
So you're not required to give the 40 hours of pay.
So currently, our sick time covers, if you have a bank of sick time, you can use that for paternity. So so what we're saying, we're gonna give you the 40, which is a week, and then if you have 600 hours of sick time, and then you're FMLA, you're good. Because we don't make you use your sick time, I guess. How do I quantify that? Like your vacation, we only let you bank so much because that has a value, right? But sick time, you can bank it. If you're never sick or you're sick very, very rarely, you could probably have 6,000-7,000 hours of sick time that we can use for paternity leave. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if anybody else wants to.
Anybody else got
that section, but.
How good was that section?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, since I wrote it down, everybody's probably looking at it. I'll just say I talked to Tiffany about 6.8.1. I'll be fine leaving that where it is. 7.10.1 through 4. This is one that I brought up a while ago about per diem pay and whatnot, and it looks like we've kind of done a meet in the middle from my request to where it was, but it looks like the city still wants to be in the business of collecting receipts and reimbursing based on actual expense, not to go over the GSA per diem rate. Is that, do I understand that right? What you've drafted?
Councilor, that is correct. So we would like to, the intention is to mirror the GSA rate. So the employee would need to search through the GSA website provided what it would cost for them to eat their meals wherever they travel to. I've searched several. I did Idaho, I did California, Washington, Utah, where majority of our staff seem to go, and the per diem in a daily quantity should not exceed more than $60 for all 3 meals. So one of our staff members came forward and said, I think we still probably need to put a max limit, a daily max limit for 3 meals or whatever that may be. And so I think that will be something we add as staff as well.
A daily max different than what the GSA?
Just no, like if you go to GSA, you can't spend over a maximum amount in a day for 3 meals.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that amount is what GSA says for that area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It's kind of where we were going as staff, because still thinking like, it's the taxpayer dollar ultimately that they're spending, and they need to be cautious of that.
Okay.
So, but at this juncture, we would still issue out the card to travel with for their trip, and then we would reimburse. We would give back all itemized receipts.
Okay. And you do the receipts because you're sending them with a credit card. Correct. Is that right?
Yes.
Versus if you just send them with the GSA cash amount.
They could eat a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Sure. Okay.
Or they could be drinking alcohol.
One or the other, yeah. So that's kind of why we decided we'd kind of meet in the middle. It's a different change for all of us, but over the next year we could review it and come back to it.
Okay, perfect. The final area I wanted to talk about, I didn't write down in here, I don't think I did, which was about the drug and alcohol testing for incidences or crashes by city employees. I think earlier I was on the kick of like we should do blood testing because, as we know, a breath test only checks for alcohol, but a blood test checks for other intoxicating substances. I had a chance to meet with the chief on this topic, Chief Thompson, and I think there's also some meat in the middle what we can do that relies heavily on maybe the investigating officer, the department head. That I struggle with the department head issue for non-police department heads. No offense, I'm saying I think sometimes they may not know if there's intoxicants going on there that are not easily observed in a person. And so if there's a crash or a serious accident at work, I'd like the policy to basically says that to say that you are required to submit to one or more evidentiary tests to determine the concentration of blood, of drugs or alcohol in your system. And that's kind of, remember that language?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that kind of covers it. So one would be your breath test always, I think, or more would be the blood test on a as needed or identified basis.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
On our workman's comp, we're asked that question, did you drug test your employee if they got into an accident? And so, I mean, it's pretty valid.
Yeah, I can guarantee you we do it. Any accident we're in, we're doing it.
We're doing what?
A test.
What kind of test?
It's just breathalyzer right now.
Yeah, that's not a drug test.
Right. And that's why you guys wanted the testing for blood at the last one, when we last talked about it.
Well, we're a drug-free work environment, so if somebody got into an accident and they were on drugs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
So, we'll make the edits.
Bring them back?
Yeah.
Great. Were you gonna say something, Rich?
Mayor, Council, I agree with that, and I think, because I know it depends on the situation. We had a bad situation in the Public Works Department one time. I know that we went and did the blood test just because we knew that needed to be done. So I think you were the investigating officer there, so.
Oh, the fatal? Yeah.
Okay. Any other changes, council?
Mayor, before it gets drafted up, and maybe I don't like it, maybe I do, what do you two think, as far as who determines when the next test is required? The HRO, even in the middle of the night, or,
This is just my opinion. We may not agree on this one, but if someone literally backs out on accident, we've seen though, we have those, that's not a big one, but I think if there's reasonable suspicion, I think it should be at the behoove of the department head or the HR department to say, yeah, you need to test them, because we've run into a few that we have, and thank God we did. So I don't have an issue. I just want to know what ICRIP will tell us what we can and can't do, or Paul. Hence, that's where, all city employees, I have pushed that responsibility back to Paul Fitzer and legal and ICRIP. I'm not a subject matter expert, and I think that's where it should probably remain with HR and department head, but I think the department needs to have that discretion. I think you guys need to allow them to have that discretion to say, you know what, something's a little fishy, I need you to go get blood test. But that's my opinion. Tiff, what's yours?
Mayor, Council, to answer Councilman Brennan's question directly is, if you called me at 1 a.m. because a police officer wrecked one of our patrol cars, as an example, I would trust the officer investigating the scene and his discretion to go test. If it happened at 4 o'clock, I would maybe say, okay, but I'm ultimately going to lean on law enforcement every time. You guys are trained. I say you, of your job, you do everything. You're trained to identify it. I'm not.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there, so. Now in the office, it could be different. If I see somebody every day, but that's a different policy.
Yeah, my partners don't have the authority to mandate like a city policy on a, and we could investigate a DUI all day long, but outside of vehicle crashes, there's still other serious injury crashes that maybe the police department won't even investigate. So,
Department head or his designee is how you get around that. So, and it's routine that you do not have to. It's nice to have law enforcement if they're available, but I mean, one of the questions I always ask in DUI voir dire is basically like, does anybody here think they've seen a drunk driver before, or somebody that was under the influence of something before? Was there something that was different about them than when they are? I mean, the point is everybody knows to some extent that's not right, or their balance issues, or slurring words, or bloodshot eyes, and all the odor on the breath. Those ones are easy, but I have no problem at all, and it's been ferreted out in the case law that that you have not been deprived of a property right if your department head is ordering you to get a drug test following some kind of an accident. perfectly fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, all good to draft up, get back to you guys?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we'll run down to recognize the person in the audience. Please limit comments to maximum 3 minutes. Would anybody like to come down and speak?
You got some names on the list, too, right?
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Crystal. I guess I'm just curious as to why we would need to have a blood test rather than just a urine test. Because when I used to work for the state in a live-in assistant facility, anytime any Schedule II narcotic went missing or any type of controlled substance went missing, we would also have to undergo a drug test, but it would be a urine test. And as an individual who is not a fan of needles, I guess I'm just questioning why it would have to be a blood test rather than a simple urine test. Enlighten me, please.
Can I answer that real quick?
Okay, go ahead.
It's just, the blood is way more specific than urine is, and it catches a lot more than a urine test does.
Okay.
So Crystal, usually we don't answer, but.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Okay.
fair. I was just really curious about it, so.
Okay.
It's your first time up here, so give
It
it a
is,
break.
yeah. Give her a break.
Come on down.
Okay, my name's Bud Adams, and this may not seem like a important question to everybody, but it is kind of to me. About 6 weeks ago, this is for you, Councilman Brennan, you mentioned the conduit issue with the fiber attached to it, the word fiber. You remember that?
Tell me more. I don't know
Okay,
anything.
you said that you went through some of the rulings and it said any conduit, fiber conduit buried in a subdivision, and then you questioned that, and you decided to take the fiber off of it. Do you remember that?
I know where you're going. I think so.
Okay, so, as a telephone employee, and knowing developers and knowing property rights, is this conduit, was it mandated by you, the mayor, for a new subdivision with luring or hopes that this would be attached to the fiber project, asking the customers to be obligated for something that they didn't want? I think it touches on a legality thing. I think you guys are crossing the line by asking a developer or a homeowner to bury conduit that they don't agree to do it on their own. And if you force them into it on a mandate, I think you guys are touching on a possible legal issue. And then I'll also mention that if you put in a fiber conduit, you got to put in a conduit for CenturyLink and Zito Media, because they're all communications. This is fine line stuff here, so that's my question. So you guys might want to iron that out for the legality of it. So that's all I have.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Bud.
Yeah, they were. Oh, Mark's on the list.
Come on, Mark.
Ellie Myers is next.
Yeah, I know most of you guys. I'm Mark Bryant. And I just want to start and let you guys know I'm a different person now. I'm a man of God, so I do pray for you guys all the time, almost every day. So I want to preference that to say that nothing I'm going to say is personal to you guys. I love you guys all the same, and I love you even more now than I did before. But you guys make the decisions and priorities for the city, so that's where I need to address you guys with. On February 13th, about 20 minutes into your meeting, you guys were having a discussion about ARPA funds and how they were going to be used. Don't want to beat that dead horse. I know that's been beat to death. My question is what it was going to be possibly used for. And I had to listen to that meeting a couple of times to make sure I heard right or correctly what was said. And it was said that we have an asbestos water supply line. I know we have sewer lines, but we also have a water supply line with asbestos. And that doesn't go by whether or not it was disturbed. That's a leaching issue. Leaches out of the concrete or what the pipe is made of over time. They have about a 70-year lifespan from what I understand online. My thing is that you guys did make a decision then, but it never got reprioritized as far as I know. If you guys have, please post that. I got my email address on there. Email me, let me know that this is prioritized and there is a plan to take it out of the system. because it is a water safety issue and we're consuming that water. So to me, there is no higher priority than to make my water safe. There is no street or any other project more important than that. And I really do appreciate that Councilwoman Garvey and Councilman Brennan did stand up to try to get those funds used in the right way, or for that or wastewater. However, you guys got beat. And it doesn't stop there. I would not approve any other agenda until we took care of that water safety issue and got it prioritized. I'm not bashing anybody or anything like that, but I do believe that you guys need to prioritize that and get it done, get it scheduled and get it done. It doesn't matter to me how much it costs, because it's more important than any other project or any other thing you can do for the city, because it deals with what we as citizens consume, and especially on my side of town, because it's in our area, Councilman Brennan. So I want to see you guys do something with that. I want to see if there's a prioritization of that above all the other things, because it is a safety issue. If you've already solved it, put it out there and say we did. And let us know that there are no other areas like that. We had a lot of older neighborhoods, and there could be pipes underground. I don't know if the engineering company checked all those areas, but I would want to see that as well. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Ellie?
Yeah. Ellie?
I'm glad to be here and speak to all of you. And
I was gonna say, could she
Yeah.
just stay there?
Yes,
That's
you
just-
don't have to
Yeah, you don't have to come up
Okay,
here.
no.
Yeah.
Ellie Myers,
We make Mark do that, but.
and I live in Sunset Manor 8, and we have a manager that thinks she can do anything she wants. And as a result, people are frightened. A lot of the elderly people are afraid to say anything because they're afraid they'll be evicted. And she does things that are not even Christian in any way, shape, or form, yet she claims she's a Christian. And she browbeats people, she tries to intimidate them, and she's doing things and not doing things because she gets a big bonus at the end of the year if she saves the Tomlinson Company money. And for one example I can give you, I'm just recovering from a broken left femur, and we had an incident over a weekend, and the toilet overflowed, and my daughter tried to get me out of the way. And by the time she did, the bathroom was totally flooded, and we called the emergency number and got an answering service in Boise. It took better than 2 hours to get somebody over there to clean up the mess. And then when they did get there, they could not get into the office for a dry vac to clean up the mess. So it's just one thing after another. Now they've taken some of the trees down and they've put up a fence, but they removed the privacy fence. They just got a chain link fence up there now, so anybody can see from the other apartments on the other side, can see into our places. They put a chain link fence up, but they claim they're not putting any of the slats for privacy for us, so we have to look at an ugly fence on the other side of our fence. And it's just getting progressively worse. And the woman manages about 5 different apartment places in the mountain home. But she really tries to do us all, the elderly, damage. So that's all I can say. We could use some help.
Thanks, Ellie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we'll run down to final comments, council. All right, my thing is the 16th, junior high, 6 p.m. Come see Mark Merrill, please. It's you will definitely get something out of it. So that's all I have.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-206, subsections 1A, B, and F.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Green? Aye. Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?